Story 1. Take all the thoughts that race through your head and turn them into one coherent idea. For example, I have been envisioning my dream house for almost 5 years. It will be easy when I finally build it. Story 2. Serial killer documentaries always feature people speaking in low, serious voices, which I find off-putting. Story 3. Podcast episodes that I have already listened to do not require my full attention, so I do not feel bad for zoning out. However, something about listening to a voice I enjoy speaking really helps. Story 4. Ambien 10 milligrams of that, and you'd better be standing right next to a bed when you take it because you will be asleep whether you want to be or not. Story 5. I imagine I am a large machine instructing each part of me to turn off, starting from my toes. This method works instantly for me. I picture an internal control center managing the process. Story 6. Being in the passenger seat of a car, my husband at the time thought it was hilarious that I fell asleep in his convertible on the highway going to Chicago. I was completely gone. I don't remember anything from the drive other than getting into his car and starting the journey. I blame my parents. They both said they would get me to sleep by driving me around or putting my baby's seat on the tumble dryer. As it worked. I swear, anything remotely resembling a passenger seat, be it in a car, plane, train, or whatever, once I sit down and it starts moving, I'm out within 5 minutes. Story 7. Lying my head on my pillow and pulling my blanket up over me. Within 5 minutes, I was asleep. Yes, my wife hates that I can do that. Story 8. Complete silence in a cool room, or listening to the same dull podcast I've heard numerous times. Story 9. Knowing Reddit, it's strange that no one has mentioned it yet. It's masturbation, specifically prone masturbation. Story 10. I play a round of disc golf at my favorite course in my mind, imagining every shot. I never remember making it through 7 holes. Story 11. If I have trouble sleeping, I play the 2001 A Space Odyssey audiobook. The reader has a soothing, even tone. I usually fall asleep within 20 minutes. If that does not work, there is always hand therapy. Story 12. Edibles. Every other day, I have to fully put myself to sleep with earplugs and an eye mask. However, the edibles will knock me out any way you look at it. Story 13. I read books on my phone with a black background. I prefer stories that are neither too boring nor overly thrilling, as I can fall asleep in about 10 minutes. Story 14. That Tracks to Relax podcast. I listen for 10 minutes and then feel frustrated. Several hours later, I'm sweaty with my headphones tangled in my hair. Story 15. I really enjoy lo-fi music, specifically the Studio Ghibli Sleep playlist on Spotify. It's so soothing. Story 16. I fall asleep easily, and my boyfriend dislikes me for it. When I was growing up, my mom trained my sister and me to sleep to Metallica or other rock and heavy metal bands. My sister still gets a little sleepy listening to War Pigs. Story 17. I get comfortable in bed but deprive myself of my favorite sleeping position for as long as possible. For instance, I prefer to sleep on my side or stomach. So when I'm trying to fall asleep, I make myself comfortable but lie flat on my back for as long as I can. Just when I'm about to doze off, I turn over into my preferred sleeping position, and I'm asleep in minutes. Story 18. At night, I set my phone aside and read from my Kindle. During the day, I enjoy watching televised bicycle racing from a comfortable spot. Story 19. Counting from 1 to infinity, but I always fall asleep before I reach number 30. If I get distracted by something like a noise or movement, I restart my counting, and that's how I fall asleep quickly. Story 20. Open the window for cold air and use earplugs to hear my own breathing. I have motorized blackout curtains from IKEA and I plan to get up early that day. I maintain a consistent bedtime at night and avoid having my cell phone in bed, which is almost impossible. A recent trick involves imagining that my bed is the most luxurious first-class airplane lay-flat seat instead of feeling like I'm stuck in an economy seat on an imaginary red-eye flight. Story 21. My neighbor has a magic handkerchief that he sometimes holds to my face to help me fall asleep. The only downside is the odd side effect of waking up with a sore backside. Story 22. Magnesium tablets. I initially thought they were just marketing gimmicks by vitamin companies, but they actually work effectively. Story 23. I just realized I think I have never experienced that. I always need at least 40 minutes of pretending to be asleep until my brain catches up. Story 24. Thinking about a deep philosophical problem like free will, the nature of reality, or the beginning of the universe. Fantasizing. Each of these, when I am in the mood to utilize them, puts me to sleep within 3 to 5 minutes. Story 25. Cuddling up to my husband on the couch is relaxing. If we are watching movies and I'm touching him, I will be sound asleep in a matter of minutes. While it might take me 30 minutes or more to fall asleep in bed each night, cuddling on the couch makes me fall asleep instantly. Story 26. I focus on my body feeling heavy and sinking into the bed. I start at my toes and work my way up to my head. I usually fall asleep by the time I reach my waist. Story 27. After a short delay, Benadryl puts me to sleep. It doesn't matter if the room is on fire, I am going to sleep. Story 28. A good exercise regimen, no blue light an hour before going to bed, and dinner a few hours before bedtime. Story 29. This may sound cheesy, but cuddling my partner puts me to sleep in under 5 minutes every time, no matter what. Story 30. I have started going to bed with a sleep mask and headphones, and I listen to a 30-minute sleep meditation. I always have trouble sleeping, and this really helps. Story 31. Earrings, a routine, a fan or another sound machine, blackout curtains, and I change my lights from the bedroom light to my lamp. I also take a sleep medication. Story 32. The comfort of my cat and stuffed animals is invaluable. I get cozy, grab one of my soft plush toys, and snuggle with it, resting my head on one half while cradling the other in my arms. Then, I wait for my cat to snuggle against my stomach, and it makes me feel warm and safe, allowing me to fall asleep instantly. My partner is also comforting. We don't cuddle much due to both of us either overheating or having sensory sensitivities, but just being next to him helps. Sleeping somewhere without him feels strange, and I can't sleep as soundly. Story 33. Those people on YouTube who read scary stories, which I believe originate from this platform, do so in a very monotone voice. I can never get through even half of the first story. Story 34. Going to my girlfriend's house. I usually go there after work at 8 p.m. and go to sleep soon after. Now, my body is trained to know it's bedtime when I arrive. Story 35. Soft, soothing music, rain sounds, white noise, and my calm carry. It might be a placebo effect. I don't know, but it usually took me an hour and a half to fall asleep, and now it's only about 30 to 40 minutes at most. Story 36. Glutamate makes me feel very sleepy after I eat. One special way of soothing me is helpful when I have trouble falling asleep at night. Consuming too much sugar or chocolate can either give me a sugar high or make me drowsy, and the same goes for alcohol. Story 37. 200 milligrams of trazodone takes about 20 minutes to take effect and is much gentler than Ambien. It may make you hungry for a bedtime snack, which can intensify the effects of the medication, so you will likely be asleep soon after finishing your yogurt cup. Story 38. The first Harry Potter movie helps me fall asleep at night. This is coming from a huge fan of the series. Story 39. Parenting is challenging. While it can help you fall asleep the moment your head hits the pillow, it is not enough. Story 40. A hard day's work. Other than that, I love a good thunderstorm to sleep or nap to. I also enjoy the theme music from the show, How It's Made. Story 41. I have been learning Spanish and I am trying to read an entire book in Spanish. I have noticed that I become very sleepy after about 15 minutes of reading. This is especially true when I try to read in bed, as I usually cannot last more than 10 minutes. Story 42. I struggled with this for most of my life until I watched a TED Talk where the speaker discussed breathing techniques. One of the techniques he described I tried to use to fall asleep. I do it all the time now, and without fail, my last thought before falling asleep is, "Oh my God, this will never work." Breathe in deeply and count to 4 while you do so. Breathe out slowly enough that you can count to 7 or 8 at the same pace. It works like a charm, but you will think it won't work until you're asleep after a few minutes. Story 43. Sleep is easy. Staying asleep is difficult due to sleep apnea. 2 fingers of scotch and a sip of ZZZ give me about 5 hours. Story 44. The sound of a roaring engine is captivating. I love motorsport and easily watch over 100 different races a year, attending as many as I can. On several occasions, I have found myself drifting off during some of the loudest events because that engine noise is so soothing. Story 45. Having a quick lie down between 1 p.m. and 5 p.m. I often take accidental naps during that time, and I'm not sure why. Story 46. The podcast of the day's 6 p.m. newscast. I have conditioned myself to fall asleep to the announcer's voice. Story 47. Honestly, just the thought of finally getting into bed after a day I didn't want to experience is refreshing. Reading, owing nothing to anyone for that half hour, and then waking up 5 minutes later, or so it feels. Story 48. Lately, I found I wind up doing the doom scroll through those deep sea conspiracy shorts on YouTube, especially when they have that man with the deep voice singing, "You-hoo, all hands." Half the time, before he finishes calling me a hoe, I'm asleep. Story 49. The conversation between 2 teachers from my youth was difficult to stay awake during. Sitting on a moderately filled train after a long day also helps. I forgot about the overtime of German television shows, where tedious segments drag on for 3 hours, while the person or group everyone is waiting for is kept backstage until the end around midnight, interrupted by commercials every 15 minutes. Story 50. Sitting down in front of the television with my special blanket or listening to my wife talk about every detail of her day. Story 51. I am trying to finally get through the first chapter of my audiobook after starting it again for the 10th time. Story 52. Ambien is a medication that can lead to addiction. I started hallucinating and had to wean off it. Story 53. Closing my eyes, no matter the time of day or what is going on around me. If I close my eyes with the intent to sleep, I fall asleep in less than 2 minutes. Story 54. Nothing. I am forever an insomniac. The only thing that will make me fall asleep instantly is if I get shot. Story 55. I close my eyes and follow the shapes, and it makes me very sleepy. I am going to do it now. Story 56. I lay still and imagine I am becoming a slab of cement, starting at my toes. I say in my head, my toes are cement. My foot is cement. My shins are cement. I have never made it past my hips. This might seem unsettling to some, but it helps me concentrate on keeping that body part still, and eventually I fall asleep. Story 57. The fan and air purifier are running while I'm wrapped in my blankets. A random podcast is playing in the background, and I drift off to sleep. Story 58. My favorite song, Lose Control by Teddy Swims, strenuous exercise, or some good intimacy that leaves me extremely tired. Story 59. Meditation helps me fall asleep instantly. Just try to think about nothing, and if thoughts arise, gently recenter your focus. It works every time for me. Story 60. Having it sit and listen to someone talk for any length of time presents a challenge. I faced this issue in school, and now I experience it at work during meetings. I cannot help it. I struggle to keep my eyes open. Story 61. Choosing a category and naming something for each letter in alphabetical order. Recently, I have been focusing on acronyms such as, Am I the Asshole? By the way, Cognitive Behavioral Therapy, Dialectical Behavior Therapy, and Environmental Protection Agency. I often doze off before finishing the alphabet, depending on the difficulty of the category. Story 62. Pick a short phrase or a word to repeat in your mind. Sometimes I say, it's time to rest repeatedly to prevent other thoughts from taking over. Or I simply say, rest. Story 63. At this point, I am so overwhelmed with stress and anxiety that when I have any time to myself where I know I have nothing to do, I almost fall asleep standing up. I am so wired that if you touch any of the wires, I will literally fall over. Story 64. My brother and I went out to an udon noodle house a while back and got 2 pitchers and a lot of ramen, rice, and unagi. We both went home and slept for about 7 hours. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.